Snow fell thick over the hospital entrance as Ethan Cole pulled his thin jacket tighter around his daughter's shoulders. In the cold corridor, the intercom crackled to life with a code that made everyone freeze. O-negative blood needed immediately. Pediatric emergency. Ethan stopped. That was his blood type. Rare. Dangerous to donate in large quantities. At that moment, a woman burst through the ice-covered glass doors, CEO Isabella North. She didn't recognize the man now holding her daughter's life in his hands. The same man she had publicly humiliated just hours before. The alarm clock's harsh beep cut through the darkness at 4:47 a.m. Ethan Cole's hand shot out, silencing it before it could wake Mia. Outside the basement apartment's narrow window, snow drifted down through the orange glow of streetlights, accumulating on windowsills already buried under 6 inches of white. He dressed in the dark thermal shirt, work pants, the Northvale Corporation maintenance uniform, with his name embroidered in faded thread. The fabric smelled of industrial cleaner and the peculiar sterility of corporate buildings. 5 years ago, he'd worn tailored suits to engineering meetings. Now, he wore this. The transformation hadn't been dramatic. It had been erosion. Sarah's cancer diagnosis. The experimental treatments insurance wouldn't cover. Maxed credit cards. The impossible choice between keeping their home and keeping her alive. They'd chosen her, but cancer had taken her anyway, leaving Ethan with a 7-year-old daughter in debt that swallowed his engineering career whole. No firm would hire someone whose credit score screamed financial instability. Background checks revealed a man who'd lost everything. So Ethan Cole, once a structural engineer who'd designed office towers, now cleaned them. In the kitchenette, he made Mia's lunch, peanut butter sandwich, apple slices, the granola bar she liked. He packed it in the insulated bag decorated with cartoon penguins, a Christmas gift from Sarah's mother before she'd stopped calling. "Daddy?" Mia's voice came soft from the doorway. "Morning, sweetheart." He turned, smile automatic. "Did I wake you?" The radiator did. She patted over in mismatched socks, her dark hair tangled from sleep. "It's making the clanking sound again. I'll ask Mr. Hernandez to look at it." He wouldn't. The landlord's patience for repair requests had worn thin months ago. How about some oatmeal before school? They ate together at the folding table, Mia swinging her legs, chattering about the art project due Friday. Ethan listened, responded, his mind already calculating the day ahead. Morning shift at Northvale, 7 to 3. Pick up Mia from the after-school program. Her cardiology appointment at Street Aurora Children's Hospital at 4:30. The appointment he'd been dreading for weeks. "You're doing the face," Mia said. "What face?" "The worry face. The one where your eyebrows do this." She scrunched her own eyebrows together in exaggerated concern. Ethan relaxed his expression. "Just thinking about work. Is it the mean lady again?" His stomach tightened. Mia had asked about Isabella North before, after overhearing him on the phone with another maintenance worker. "She's not mean. She's just busy. Important people are often busy. Mom used to say, important people should be important to other people, not just to themselves." Sarah had said that. In the hospital, weak but still fierce, still teaching Mia how to see the world. The memory hit like wind through a broken window. Your mom was right. Ethan cleared his throat. "Come on, let's get you ready for school." By 6:15, they were walking through snow that came up to Mia's knees. Ethan carried her the last 2 blocks to Harbor Elementary, her arms wrapped around his neck, her breath warm against his collar. The school's lights glowed yellow in the pre-dawn darkness. "Be good," he said, setting her down at the entrance. "You too, Daddy." She kissed his cheek, then ran inside, backpack bouncing. Ethan watched until she disappeared around the corner. Then he turned toward the bus stop, toward Northvale Corporation's gleaming towers, toward another day of invisible labor in a building that pretended he didn't exist. The snow kept falling. The city kept moving. and Ethan Cole kept putting one foot in front of the other, because that's what fathers do. Northvale Corporation's lobby was a cathedral of glass and steel, 3 stories high with suspended art installations that cost more than Ethan made in 5 years. Morning light filtered through the atrium, catching on melting snow tracked in by executives who never noticed the maintenance crew mopping up after them. Ethan pushed his cleaning cart toward the service elevator, timing his movement to avoid the morning rush. Invisibility was a skill he'd perfected: arrive early, leave late, exist in the margins of other people's days. The main elevator bank chimed. Doors slid open. Isabella North stepped out like winter itself, taking human form. Tall, sharp-featured, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Ethan's monthly rent. Her heels clicked against marble with the precision of a metronome. 2 assistants flanked her, clutching tablets, reciting the day's schedule in hushed, urgent voices. Ethan moved his cart to the side. Not far enough. "Excuse me." Her voice cut through the lobby's ambient murmur. He looked up, met her eyes. They were the color of ice over deep water. "You're blocking the elevator." Ethan glanced back. His cart sat 3 feet from the service elevator, well clear of the main bank. "I'm not in. I don't have time for excuses." She gestured sharply. "Move it. Now." Around them, the lobby had gone quiet. Other employees slowed, watching. Security guards shifted uncomfortably. The assistants stared at their tablets, faces carefully blank. Ethan gripped the cart's handle. "Ma'am, I'm waiting for the service. Do you know who I am?" The question hung in the air like a blade. "Yes, ma'am." "Then you understand that when I tell you to move, you move." She stepped closer, voice dropping to a tone that somehow carried further than shouting. "This is a place of business, a professional environment. If you can't follow simple instructions, perhaps you should find employment elsewhere. God knows there are plenty of people who would be grateful for the opportunity you're apparently too incompetent to appreciate." Heat crept up Ethan's neck. His hands tightened on the cart until his knuckles went white. Around them, phones appeared. Video recording. This moment, his humiliation, being captured for break-room entertainment. He could speak, could defend himself, could explain that he had an engineering degree from Cornell, that he'd designed the load-bearing calculations for the Chicago Millennium Center, that he was standing here in a maintenance uniform not because of incompetence, but because life had broken him and remade him into something smaller. He could say all of that. Instead, he looked at Isabella North's cold, certain face and saw what she saw: a man in a cheap uniform, disposable, replaceable, beneath notice. "Yes, ma'am." He pushed the cart backward. "My apologies." She didn't acknowledge the words, already turning away, heels clicking toward the executive elevator. Her assistants scurried after her. The lobby slowly resumed its normal rhythm, conversations restarting, people moving again. But Ethan stood still, gripping his cart, feeling the weight of 24 stares on his back. A young woman from accounting touched his arm. "Are you okay?" "Fine." The word came out rougher than intended. "I'm fine." He wasn't. But fine was what you said when the alternative was breaking down in front of strangers who'd recorded your degradation and would share it over lunch. Ethan pushed his cart to the service elevator, pressed the button, waited. Behind him, someone whispered, "Don't." Someone else cut them off. "You want to end up like him?" The elevator arrived. Ethan stepped inside. The doors closed on the lobby's bright, indifferent light, and for just a moment, alone in the ascending box, he let himself feel the full weight of it, the humiliation, the powerlessness, the crushing awareness that he couldn't afford pride, couldn't afford anger, couldn't afford anything except survival. Then the elevator stopped, the doors opened, and Ethan Cole put his mask back on and went to work. By noon, the snow had evolved from picturesque to dangerous. Wind drove it horizontal across Northvale's windows, piling it against building faces, turning the city into a maze of white. The Weather Service issued warnings. The mayor held a press conference, urging people to stay home. Ethan left work at 2:45 minutes before his shift ended. He'd face consequences later, a write-up, maybe a suspension, but Mia's appointment couldn't be rescheduled. Her pediatric cardiologist saw patients on Tuesdays only, and the waiting list stretched 3 months deep. The bus crawled through traffic at walking pace. Ethan checked his watch every 30 seconds, jaw clenched, as precious minutes evaporated. By the time he reached Harbor Elementary, it was 3:40, 20 minutes late. Mia waited in the main office, reading a book, feet swinging. When she saw him, her face lit up with relief that made his chest ache. "Sorry, Bug." "The storm. It's okay, Daddy." She took his hand. "Mrs. Patterson said you'd come." They caught a different bus toward Street Aurora Children's Hospital, riding in silence as the city transformed around them. Emergency vehicles crawled past. Traffic lights swayed in the wind. The temperature had dropped 10 degrees in an hour. "Is the doctor going to find something wrong?" Mia asked quietly. Ethan squeezed her hand. "The doctor is going to make sure you're healthy. That's all, but my heart makes the weird sound, the murmur." The pediatrician had detected it during a routine checkup 2 months ago, an irregular rhythm that probably meant nothing but required specialist evaluation. Probably. That word kept Ethan awake at night, remembering Sarah's cancer diagnosis that had started with probably benign. "Hearts are complicated," he said. "Dr. Patterson is an expert. She'll know exactly what that sound means." They arrived at Street Aurora at 4:15. The hospital rose from the snow like a fortress of warmth and light, its emergency entrance blazing with activity. Ambulances lined the bay, red lights painting the falling snow pink. Inside, the pediatric wing felt like a different world, bright murals, cheerful staff, the controlled chaos of a children's hospital managing a winter emergency. Ethan checked in at reception, filled out insurance forms he knew wouldn't cover everything, and led Mia to the cardiology waiting area. They just sat down when the overhead speakers crackled. Code red, pediatric emergency. Code red, pediatric emergency. All available personnel to ER Bay 3. Nurses sprinted past. Doctors appeared from nowhere, running. Through the waiting room's interior window, Ethan saw a gurney race by, a child's small form strapped down. Medical staff surrounding it like protective armor. Mia grabbed his arm. "Daddy, is someone dying? Someone's getting help." He pulled her close. "That's what hospitals do. They help people." But watching the organized frenzy, hearing the urgency in voices, seeing the fear on a nurse's face as she rushed past, Ethan felt the old, familiar dread settle into his bones. Hospitals saved people. Hospitals also failed. And, somewhere in this building, another parent was living through the worst moment of their life, praying that this time, the outcome would be different. Ethan held Mia tighter and waited for their name to be called. Dr. Patterson's examination took 20 minutes. Echocardiogram, EKG. Stethoscope pressed to Mia's chest while she breathed in, out. Innocent murmur, the cardiologist finally announced, smiling. "Very common in children. No treatment needed. She's perfectly healthy." The relief hit Ethan so hard his vision blurred. "You're sure?" "Positive. I want to see her again in a year, just for routine monitoring. But her heart is strong." Dr. Patterson ruffled Mia's hair. "You've got a fighter here." They left the examination room at 5:30, Ethan feeling lighter than he had in months. Mia chattered about the stickers the nurse had given her, pressing them onto her jacket. The pediatric wing had grown more crowded. Parents clustered in waiting areas, children in various states of illness or injury occupied every seat. The storm had turned the city into a casualty ward. Car accidents, falls on ice, hypothermia cases from homeless populations. Ethan was guiding Mia toward the exit when he heard it. A sound like nothing else in the world, a child's scream cutting through every other noise, raw with terror and pain. He turned. Down the hallway, near the emergency stairwell, a girl had collapsed. Maybe 8 or 9 years old, dark hair, dressed in private school uniform. She convulsed on the linoleum, body jerking, eyes rolled back. A security guard stood frozen. A nurse sprinted toward them from the opposite direction, 50 feet away. Ethan didn't think. He ran. Years of first aid training from his engineering days, from job sites where accidents could kill, flooded back. He dropped to his knees beside the girl, turning her onto her side, protecting her head from the floor. "Someone get a doctor," he shouted. To the girl. Softer. "I've got you. You're going to be okay." Blood ran from her nose. Her body convulsed again, harder. Through the seizure, her hand shot out and grabbed his wrist with desperate strength. Her eyes found his. For just a second, consciousness flickered back. "Don't let me die," she whispered. "Please. I'm scared." The words punched through Ethan's chest. He saw Sarah in that hospital bed, gripping his hand, whispering the same thing. He saw Mia, small and frightened, asking if someone was dying. "Look at me." He kept his voice steady, authoritative. "You're not dying. You're having a medical episode. And help is coming. Do you hear that? Running footsteps, voices shouting medical codes. I need you to focus on breathing," Ethan continued. "Can you do that? In through your nose, out through your mouth." The girl tried. Failed. Tried again. "That's it. You're doing great." He kept his hand steady as she gripped it. "What's your name?" "Clara." Barely audible. "I'm Ethan, and I'm going to stay right here until the doctors take over. Okay?" "Okay." The medical team arrived like a wave, doctors, nurses, equipment appearing as if summoned. Ethan started to move back, but Clara's grip tightened. "Don't go. I'm not going anywhere." He looked up at the lead doctor. "She's scared. Let me stay." The doctor hesitated, then nodded. "Keep her calm." They worked around him, taking vitals, establishing an IV line, administering medication. Ethan held Clara's hand through all of it, murmuring reassurance, anchoring her to consciousness. Gradually, the convulsions eased. Her breathing stabilized. Color returned to her face. "Good," the doctor said. "Very good. We're taking her to emergency surgery. Likely a vascular malformation causing the hemorrhage. Surgery." The word sent ice through Ethan's veins. Clara heard it too. Her eyes widened with fresh terror. "Hey." Ethan squeezed her hand. "Remember what I said? You're going to be okay. These doctors are the best in the city. They're going to fix what's wrong, and then you're going to go home. Promise?" He shouldn't promise. Couldn't promise. Knew better than anyone how hospitals could fail, how bodies could betray, how sometimes there were no miracle. But looking at this terrified child, feeling her small hand in his, he said the words anyway. "I promise." They lifted her onto a gurney. Her hand slipped from his, and Ethan knelt on the cold hospital floor, watching them wheel Clara toward surgery, feeling the ghost of Sarah's last breath against his palm. Mia tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, you're shaking." Ethan looked down at his hands. She was right. He forced them still. "I'm okay, Bug. Come on, let's." The overhead speakers crackled again. "Attention all staff. We have a critical shortage of O-negative blood. The patient in emergency surgery requires immediate transfusion. All O-negative donors in the building, please report to the donation center immediately. Repeat, critical O-negative shortage." Around them, hospital staff exchanged grim looks. Through the window, the blizzard had intensified. Whiteout conditions. The roads would be impassable now. "The blood bank trucks can't get through," a nurse muttered to her colleague. "We're completely cut off." Ethan's mind went very still. O-negative. Universal donor, the rarest blood type. His blood type. He'd donated before, back when he had health insurance, when regular donations felt like a civic duty. But that was years ago, before the stress, before the malnutrition masked as budgeting, before his body became something he pushed past its limits daily just to survive. "Daddy?" Mia looked up at him. "That's your blood type." "The rare one." "Yeah." His voice came out hoarse. "Is that for the girl you helped?" He didn't know. But somewhere in this hospital, a child needed blood he could provide. Maybe Clara. Maybe another parent's nightmare. The donation center was on the second floor. He could take Mia there, donate, and they'd still make it home before the buses stopped running. Except, donating a whole unit would leave him weak, dizzy. In this storm, getting Mia home safely would be difficult, and if something happened to him, if he passed out on the bus, if he fell on the ice, she'd be alone. He couldn't risk it. He turned toward the exit. Made it 3 steps. "Severe hemorrhage," a doctor's voice carried from the nursing station. "She's crashing. Without blood in the next 30 minutes, we'll lose her." 30 minutes. Ethan stopped walking. He thought about Isabella North. About her cold voice in the lobby, her contempt, her certainty that he was worthless. He thought about how the world worked, how people like him were invisible until someone needed something. Then he thought about Clara's hand in his, her whispered plea, the terror in her eyes. He thought about Mia watching him, learning from every choice he made what it meant to be human in a world that often felt inhuman. "Come on, Bug." "To donate blood?" "Yeah, but you said you felt tired today. You didn't eat much lunch." His heart cracked open. 7 years old, and she noticed everything. "I'm okay." He crouched to her level. "Sometimes we have to do hard things because they're the right things. Understand? Is it for the girl?" "I don't know. Maybe. But someone's daughter needs help." Mia nodded slowly. Then she took off her scarf pink, hand knitted by Sarah in the final months, and wrapped it around his neck. "For strength," she said seriously. Ethan pulled her into a hug, breathing in the scent of her shampoo, feeling the steady beat of her healthy heart against his chest. Then he stood, took her hand, and walked toward the donation center. Behind them, through the hospital windows, the storm raged white and endless. The city had disappeared. The world had narrowed to this building, this moment, this choice. Ethan Cole had lost almost everything life could take from a person, but he still had this, the ability to save someone else's child. So he did. The donation center occupied a small wing on the second floor, normally staffed by 3 nurses and handling scheduled appointments. Now it looked like a war triage, phones ringing, staff rushing between stations, the controlled panic of medical professionals facing insufficient resources. "I'm O-negative," Ethan said to the nurse at the desk. She looked up, relief flooding her face. They moved fast, medical history, blood pressure check, iron test, everything borderline but acceptable. The nurse didn't mention that Ethan looked exhausted, that his protein levels were low, that he was probably 50 pounds underweight for his height. "The patient is a 9-year-old girl," she said, prepping his arm. "Vascular malformation, hemorrhaging in surgery. Without blood, she won't make it. Clara." It was Clara. "How long will this take?" Ethan asked. 45 minutes for a full unit. "We need at least that much." Mia sat in a chair beside the donation bed, swinging her legs, watching with solemn eyes as the nurse inserted the needle. Ethan winced, not from pain, but from the sight of his blood flowing into the collection bag. Dark red, rich. The most valuable thing he owned. "You're very brave," the nurse told him. "I'm just sitting here." "No." She met his eyes. "You're saving a life." Down the hall, an elevator chimed. Footsteps, fast and sharp. Heels on linoleum. Isabella North burst into the donation center like a hurricane in human form. Her hair had come loose from its severe bun. Her makeup was smeared. Her eyes were wild. "Where is she?" Isabella demanded. Clara North, where is my daughter?" The charge nurse stepped forward. "Mrs. North, your daughter is in surgery." "I know she's in surgery. They called me. I need to see her. That's not possible right now." "The surgical team." "I don't care what the surgical team says. She's my daughter." Isabella's voice cracked on the last word. The veneer of control shattered, revealing raw terror underneath. "Ma'am." The charge nurse's voice softened. "Your daughter is receiving the best care possible. Dr. Reeves is the finest pediatric surgeon in the state. But right now, what she needs most is blood." "Then give her blood." "We're trying. The storm has cut off our supply. We have one donor." The nurse gestured toward the donation area. Isabella turned. Saw Ethan on the donation bed, blood flowing from his arm. Saw Mia beside him, small and watchful. Saw the Northvale Corporation maintenance uniform draped over the chair back. Recognition hit her like a physical blow. Her face went white. For a long moment, no one spoke. Ethan watched emotions cascade across Isabella's face: shock, confusion, disbelief, and then something worse than anger: shame. The terrible, crushing awareness of who she was and what she had done. "You," she whispered. "Ma'am." Ethan's voice came out steady, though his heart raced. "The nurse needs to focus. Please." Isabella stood frozen, staring at the man she'd humiliated this morning. The man whose blood was now saving her daughter's life. She opened her mouth, closed it. No words came. The donation pump hummed softly. Blood flowed. Outside, wind rattled the windows. "There's a family waiting area on the 3rd floor," the charge nurse said gently. "I'll have someone take you there, as soon as we have news." "No." Isabella's voice barely qualified as sound. "I'll wait here, ma'am. It might be better." "I said I'll wait here." She sank into a chair against the wall, eyes fixed on the bag slowly filling with Ethan's blood. Her hands clasped in her lap, knuckles white. And in that small, bright room, surrounded by the clinical efficiency of medical equipment, Isabella North came face to face with the cost of her cruelty. The man she'd considered beneath notice was giving his blood, literally giving his life force, to save the person she loved most in the world. She sat, she waited. She said nothing, but inside, something fundamental began to break apart. Time moved strangely in the donation center. Outside, darkness fell early, swallowed by the blizzard. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed their eternal tune. Ethan felt the weakness creeping in around the edges. His vision softened. His head felt light, disconnected from his body. The nurse monitored the collection bag with professional focus, occasionally checking his vitals. "You're doing great," she murmured. Almost there. Mia had climbed onto his bed, curled against his side. She'd been quiet for 20 minutes, unusual for her. Now she whispered, "Daddy, you look really pale." "I'm okay, Bug. You don't look okay." From across the room, Isabella's voice cut through. "Is he okay?" The nurse glanced over. "He's fine. Blood donation can cause temporary weakness. He looks like he's about to pass out." "Ma'am, I'm monitoring." "I can see what you're monitoring. He's clearly not fine." Ethan opened his eyes fully. Isabella had stood, hands clenched, staring at him with an expression he couldn't read. Fear? Anger? Something else entirely? "Mrs. North," he said quietly. "I'm fine. You're not fine. You look." She stopped, seeming to realize she had no right to concern, no standing to express care. "How much longer?" 10 minutes, the nurse said. Isabella sat back down, stood up again, paced to the window. The glass reflected her image against the darkness outside, a woman coming apart at the seams, held together only by force of will. "They said she was unconscious," Isabella said, to no one in particular. "When they called, they said she'd lost consciousness at school. Seizure. They thought it was epilepsy at first, But then her voice broke. Then she started bleeding. Mia looked at Ethan. He nodded slightly. She slipped off the bed and walked over to Isabella. "The girl you helped?" Mia said. "That's your daughter?" Isabella looked down at this small child, then at Ethan. "You helped her?" "She was scared," Ethan said. "I just stayed with her until the doctors came." "He promised she'd be okay," Mia added. "And my daddy doesn't break promises." Something in Isabella's face crumbled. She knelt down, bringing herself to Mia's level. "What's your name?" "Mia Cole." "Mia." Isabella's voice caught. "Thank you for sharing your father." It was such a strange thing to say, so formal. But Mia, with the grace of children who haven't learned to hold grudges, simply nodded. The pump beeped. The nurse checked the bag. "That's a full unit." "Good." She began the process of disconnecting Ethan, pressing gauze to the needle site. "You'll need to rest for at least 20 minutes before standing. I need to get my daughter home. Sir, if you stand up too quickly, you'll pass out. And then you'll be no help to anyone." The logic was irrefutable. Ethan leaned back, closing his eyes. Footsteps approached. He felt someone sit in the chair beside his bed. Opened his eyes to find Isabella there. Her composure shattered, tears tracking through her makeup. "I don't," she stopped. Started again. "You don't have to say anything." "Yes, I do. This morning, I was." The words seemed to physically hurt her. "I was cruel. Unnecessarily cruel. And now she gestured helplessly at the blood bag being labeled with Clara's information. "I'm not doing this for you," Ethan said quietly. Isabella nodded, tears falling freely now. "She's all I have." In that moment, stripped of her authority and armor, she wasn't CEO Isabella North. She was just a mother, terrified of losing her child. The storm howled outside. The blood bag sat on the counter, dark and precious, and two strangers sat in silence, connected by the most fundamental transaction humans can make. One life sustaining another. The surgery lasted 3 hours. Ethan spent the first 20 minutes recovering. Drinking juice, eating crackers the nurse pressed into his hands. Then, despite the nurse's protests, he stood. The room tilted, steadied. He was weak but functional. "We should go home," he told Mia, but the buses had stopped running. The storm had shut down the city. Through the hospital windows, the world was nothing but white. They ended up in the third-floor family waiting area, a space designed for vigils, with donated magazines and bad coffee and the particular silence of people holding their breath. Isabella sat across from them, phone clutched in her hand, staring at nothing. She'd made calls to her assistant, to her lawyer, to people who could make things happen, but no one could make the surgery go faster. At 8:15 p.m., Dr. Reeves emerged, still in surgical scrubs. Isabella shot to her feet. She's stable," the doctor said immediately. "The repair was successful. We found the malformation, sealed it off. The transfusion got her through the critical period." Isabella's knees buckled. She grabbed the chair for support. "Can I see her? She's in recovery, unconscious but stable. Give us another hour to move her to pediatric ICU, then yes." Dr. Reeves left. Isabella stood motionless, then slowly turned to Ethan. "Thank you." The words came out broken. "Thank you" doesn't even begin to. She pressed her hand to her mouth, fighting for composure. Ethan stood, Mia's hand in his. "I'm glad she's okay." "Wait." Isabella stepped forward. "Please, I need to." She stopped, looking at Mia, then back at Ethan. "I need to apologize. For this morning. For what I said. For how I treated you. Mrs. North. It was inexcusable. You didn't deserve that. No one deserves that." The words came faster now, desperate. "I've been trying to understand why I did it. Stress, maybe. The pressure of the company, of being a single mother in a position where any weakness feels fatal. But those aren't reasons. they're just excuses. Ethan was quiet for a moment. Then, why are you apologizing now? The question clearly surprised her. Because I was wrong. No. His voice remained gentle but firm. You were wrong this morning. You're apologizing now because I saved your daughter. If Clara wasn't in surgery right now, would you even remember my name? Isabella flinched as if struck. I did what I did because she's a child, Ethan continued. Because she was scared and needed help. Not because I wanted recognition. Not because I expected gratitude. I did it because it was right. I know that. Do you? Or do you just feel guilty because it's easier than actually changing? The words hung between them, quiet but devastating. I want to change, Isabella whispered. Then change. Not for me. Not because you owe me. Change because the way you treated me this morning is the way you treat people every day. And those people matter. Even if they can't save your daughter. Mia tugged Ethan's hand. Daddy, is the bus running yet? He checked his phone. No, Bug. We might be here a while. Isabella watched them, this father and daughter, facing a night stranded in a hospital because he'd chosen to help a stranger. She stopped. I have a car. A driver. He can take you home. The roads are closed. He has a vehicle rated for snow. Please. Ethan looked at Mia's tired face, at the storm beyond the windows, at Isabella's desperate need to offer something, anything, to balance the scales. Okay, he said quietly. Thank you. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. And sometimes, that's where change begins. 3 weeks later, Ethan received a summons to the Northvale Corporation executive floor. He'd never been above the 15th floor. The executive level occupied the 43rd through 45th stories, a realm of mahogany and leather, of silence broken only by the hushed murmur of power being wielded. Isabella's assistant met him at the elevator. Miss North is expecting you. The office was corner-positioned, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Snow still covered everything, but the sun was out, turning the world into crystalline brightness. Isabella stood at the window. She turned as he entered. She looked different, less armor, more human. Still professional, but the ice had thawed. Thank you for coming, she said. Please, sit. Ethan remained standing. Am I being fired? What? No. God, no. She seemed genuinely shocked. I asked you here to discuss something else entirely. She gestured to the conference table, where documents were spread out. Ethan approached slowly, reading the headers. Single Parent Employee Support Initiative, Healthcare Access Program, Educational Scholarship Fund. I don't understand, he said. After Clara's surgery, I started looking into our employee demographics. Isabella's voice was careful, controlled. Do you know how many single parents work for Northvale? 47, out of 300 employees. 47 people trying to do what you do, balance work and parenthood alone. And our policies do nothing to support them. Worse than nothing. We actively make their lives harder. She pulled out a chair, sat. Ethan followed suit. Wary. I'm implementing changes, Isabella continued. Flexible scheduling, subsidized childcare, emergency family leave that doesn't count against vacation time, partnerships with local schools for after-school programs. She looked directly at him. I want you to help me design them. Ethan blinked. I'm maintenance. You're also someone who lives this reality every day. You know what single parents need because you need it. I'm asking you to consult on this initiative. Paid, of course. Additional compensation beyond your regular salary. It felt like a trick. Like charity, dressed up as opportunity. Why me? He asked. Because you're honest. Because you told me the truth in the hospital, that guilt isn't the same as change. And because if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. That means listening to people who actually understand the problems. Ethan looked at the documents again. They were detailed, thoughtful, addressing real issues he faced daily. This wasn't performative. This was work. There's something else, Isabella added. I pulled your employment file. You have an engineering degree, Cornell, top of your class. That was a long time ago. Skills don't expire. We have an opening in our structural engineering department. Not a senior position you'd need to catch up on recent technologies, but it's engineering work. Better pay. Benefits that actually cover things. She paused. I'm not offering this as charity. I'm offering it because we need good engineers, and you're overqualified to be pushing a cleaning cart. Ethan's hands had started shaking. He pressed them flat against the table. I can't accept special treatment because I donated blood. This isn't special treatment. It's basic decency, something I should have shown you from the beginning. Mrs. North, Isabella. Please. He met her eyes. Saw genuine intent there. Also saw the weight she carried, the awareness that she'd been wrong, that her daughter's near death had been the catalyst, that she was trying to be better. I need to think about it, Ethan said. Of course. Take all the time you need. She stood, extended her hand. But Ethan, thank you. For Clara. For calling me out. For giving me the chance to do better. He shook her hand. Her grip was firm, warm. How is Clara? He asked. Isabella's face transformed. The executive mask fell away, revealing a mother's fierce love. She's home. Recovering. She asks about you. About Mia. Mia asks about her too. Maybe Isabella hesitated. Maybe they could meet? When Clara's stronger, Ethan thought about two girls, both growing up with single parents, both marked by loss and survival. I'd like that, he said. He left the office with documents tucked under his arm, his mind spinning. On the elevator ride down, he passed his reflection in the polished steel doors. The same man. But maybe, just maybe, heading toward a different future. Spring came slowly to the city. The snow receded inch by inch, revealing the brown grass and cracked pavement underneath. By April, the world had remembered color. Ethan started in the engineering department on the first Monday of March. The work was challenging. Software had evolved. Building codes had changed, but the fundamental principles remained the same. Physics didn't change. Mathematics didn't change. And Ethan discovered that the part of his brain that designed structures hadn't atrophied. It had simply been sleeping. His colleagues were younger, but they didn't condescend. Isabella had made clear that Ethan was there on merit, and anyone who had a problem with that could discuss it with her directly. No one chose to. The single-parent initiative launched in April. Ethan had spent hours consulting, sharing his experiences, pointing out the gaps between policy and reality. The final program wasn't perfect, but it was substantial. Subsidized childcare, flexible hours, emergency leave, healthcare coverage that included pediatric specialists. Other companies started asking questions. How did Northvale improve retention by 20% in 6 months? What was this employee well-being initiative everyone was talking about? Isabella gave interviews. Always credited the employees who'd shaped the program. Never mentioned that her daughter's near death had catalyzed it. On a Saturday in mid-April, Ethan and Mia went to the park. Not the small neighborhood park with the broken swings, but Riverside Park. The big one with the restored carousel and the duck pond. They were feeding ducks when a familiar voice called out. Clara North ran toward them, her mother following at a more sedate pace. The girls collided in a hug, then immediately started chattering about school and books and everything 8-year-olds find fascinating. She talks about Mia constantly, Isabella said, stopping beside Ethan. I'm fairly certain they've become best friends telepathically. Mia does the same. I've heard Clara's name more than my own this week. They watched the girls throw bread to ducks who'd already been overfed by a dozen other families. How's the engineering work? Isabella asked. Good. Challenging. I'm working on the structural assessment for the new convention center. It's It's good to use that part of my brain again. I'm glad. They stood in comfortable silence. The sun was warm. The breeze carried the scent of emerging flowers. I never properly thanked you, Isabella said quietly. For saving Clara's life. You've thanked me at least a dozen times. No, I mean, she struggled for words. That night, you told me guilt wasn't the same as change. You were right. But what you don't know is that Clara made me promise something when she woke up. What? She said. The man who helped me was kind, even though he didn't have to be. I want to be like that. And I realized Isabella's voice caught. I realized my daughter was learning how to be human from a stranger because I'd failed to teach her. Because I'd shown her that kindness was weakness. That power meant never having to consider other people. A tear tracked down her cheek. She wiped it away impatiently. So, thank you, she continued. Not just for the blood. For showing Clara and showing me what it actually means to be decent. Ethan watched Mia and Clara, now trying to convince a stubborn duck to take bread directly from their hands. You're doing the work now, he said. That's what matters. Am I? Sometimes I wonder if it's enough. It's never enough. But it's something. And something is better than nothing. Isabella nodded. They watched the girls in silence. After a while, Clara called out, Mom, can Mia come over for dinner? Isabella looked at Ethan. Would that be okay? Only if you let me bring something. I make excellent pasta. Deal. They exchanged numbers, made plans. The girls cheered. As they walked back toward the parking area, Ethan looked up at the sky. Clear. Blue. Endless. The storm had passed months ago, but its effects rippled outward still, touching lives, changing trajectories, proving that sometimes the worst moments could become catalysts for the best ones. Mia slipped her hand into his. Daddy, this is a good day. Yeah, Bug. It really is. Behind them, the ducks quarreled over bread. Ahead, the city stretched out in all its complicated, beautiful, difficult glory. And Ethan Cole, who had lost everything and found a way to keep going, discovered that sometimes life gave back what it had taken. Not in the same form. Not in ways you could predict. But in the end, if you kept showing up, kept choosing kindness over bitterness, kept believing that people mattered, even when the world told you they didn't. Sometimes you got to stand in the sun with your daughter and watch spring arrive. The snow had melted, the world had thawed, and in the space where winter used to be, something new was growing.